Today, I'm going to bring you 20 tips to help you in your game. Some could be repeated from previous videos as I have new information or I gave the wrong information and I feel like it's important to know about. Number one, buy a second ox early game as soon as you can because you need to move all of that timber around. They're the only ones that can do it, and you'll have enough money, especially to open a trade route later on if you don't even go after a bandit camp. But you're going to be bottlenecked very early by moving timber. So get a second oxen ASAP. Number two, build your marketplace close to your granary and your storehouse. Something that just cannot be stressed enough as they transport goods to the marketplace from the granary, the storehouse, and then they get magically distributed to the homes. So they don't need to be really close to the homes. Now, there probably is some coverage issues if you build it way off in the corner, but you want it always built close to where they're supplying it rather than putting it right in the middle of your town. So save on that travel time. Number three, when to run with your soldiers. Especially this goes for your militia. Early on, you never want to run them as it takes away their stamina and effectiveness and hurts tremendously. But after you've taken out a bandit camp and the area is clear, they don't need to fight again. So put them on run because you want to get these militia back to your town as quick as possible so they can start working on normal town things. So don't be afraid to hit run. Also, when you're doing this, make sure that you are disbanding them close to the town. If they're far away, they're going to have to walk a long distance. As long as you have them mustered and together, you can have them on run and they will run back to the location. But the minute you disband them, they're going to walk back and it's going to take longer. So run them back to a centralized location before you disband your militia. Unlike chicken coops or goat sheds, vegetable gardens are tied to the size of the plot that you build them with. So you always want to build them bigger than you would your other ones. One important thing to remember with these, though, is they will not produce vegetables right away. These have to get filled to a certain point, ready to go, before they're going to supply your town with vegetables. So remember this little rule. The bigger the plot is, the more vegetables it will provide, but the longer it's going to take to get that benefit. So there is a trade-off. Do you want the vegetables right away? Or do you want to be more set up for a later game? It just depends on, are you going for a quick game or are you going for a long one? Not everyone will agree with this, but don't be afraid to re-roll your map. If you just have things that are just too far away and not optimal, it could make your game tough and challenging, but to some people, it might make it really boring and just not fun because that's what the game is supposed to be. It's fun to you. So if you want to, re-roll it a couple times. It only takes a few seconds. And then you might get something like this, where a lot of the stuff is right where you want it to be, close by. So don't be afraid to re-roll it a couple times if you want. When it comes to farming plots, build smaller plots instead of one massive one. They have to be able to get everything done before the season ends. And if they don't have everything done in a plot, it's just gone. To ensure that you do get your crops, build smaller plots. That way they will finish one, move to the next, and move to the next. So if you run out of time, only maybe one of your 4 plots won't get any crops. If you build a big one and you're not quick enough, you could lose the entire thing. You can actually get more berries than that originally shows. It's not 64. As you can see the green arrow with it growing, when it starts up in spring and starts growing, put somebody on the forager hut right away and they will start taking berries. However, it will keep growing and growing the entire spring, and it will get up to that 64. So it is possible that you could get upwards of 100, 150 berries out of just one season, because while you are going and picking berries and it is continuing to grow, it can still fill up to that 64. So start your berry picking early on in the spring, and you can get way more than 64 in a season. One thing I have struggled with at times is having my saw pit take all of my logs, since they don't go out and get wood, but they use the existing wood that you've already cut down. And I've had it where my construction has been stopped because I've used up all my timber. So you can set a construction reserve, and therefore they're not going to use the saw pit unless it is over that construction reserve. So watch out for these reserves on a couple different things to make sure that you're not using all of your materials and you have some set aside for its original intent. The same premise goes along with the hunting camp. Wild animals will reproduce, but you don't want to use all of them up or they're gone. So make sure you set a hunting limit for this as well, and then that way you won't use all of them up. You also want to be very careful with your animals and your berries when you are doing logging. If you push your logging too close, it will cause the animals to migrate away, and you can actually hurt how much berry production you get because you're using up the entire area where they grow. So make sure you set limits on where they're able to go ahead and pull timber, which you can do that by going in there, advanced, and use a limit work area. Just go ahead, hold down the control key, and use your mouse wheel, and therefore you can set exactly how much you want them to go ahead and cut down. Another oldie but goodie, roads. Make sure you are putting roads down for easier access. You don't want people to have to travel all the way across certain areas when they can just make some easy cut throughs where you can get people around so much quicker. So if you have just one road doing everything, most people are going to use that one road. Make little cut throughs here and there to allow people easy access to be able to get anywhere in your town. Back to setting the work area limits. This is especially good when it is for logging. You can use it for other things like berries or animals, but what I find that is really good is you take your forester hut and then have them work on an area. Now, early on, you might not be able to keep production up enough in the late game, and having the right people, you can plant trees here and have them ready to go the next year and never have production slowed down. However, if you are having a problem with that and they're not being produced fast enough, set the area in which you want them to place things. Then take your cutters and set their area someplace else. We'll set it there. Now they're going to cut the wood from here while the foresters place it here. So that way, the next year, this is going to be ready to go while this is empty. So you just alternate between the two of them. If you make a chicken coop, a goat shed, a vegetable garden, then they're going to have workers that are going to be working on it, the families. But they can also do other things. They're not all dedicated. However, if you build an artisan shop, which are any of these right here, the entire family will be dedicated to working on that and that alone. They will not work in any other area of your town. So always be careful not to place too many too quick, or you're going to lose all your workers. Regional wealth compared to your treasury. Regional wealth is used for things like upgrading burgage plots, doing trading, but that is for this area only. If you have another area, then their regional wealth is going to count only for this area. It's not shared between territories. Your treasury is something that can be used in any of your territories, used for things like upgrading retinue, claiming new areas. This is something that can be used for any of those areas. So each one does different things, and deciding where to put the money is extremely important. If you have an area that has a lot of money and you defeat a bandit camp, you might not want to put it going to the closest town, but have it go in your treasury so that way you can use it for things like upgrading your retinue or getting a new territory. Because while a new territory might take influence, it costs money to actually start the town. You don't need to assign anyone to work with your oxen. Anybody that is free will go ahead and they will run these. The only difference in assigning them is they will be dedicated to working with that livestock. So you never have to worry about not having any available. Most times when you assign somebody to work on something, they will end up getting an oxen for it. So the only thing you're really going to lose is just a little bit of efficiency if you don't have somebody assigned. So don't worry about assigning somebody full time. And if you do, make sure to pull them back off, because there are times in which the oxen aren't doing anything and you don't really want idle workers. You could place down your farm area before you even build your town. Trying to figure it out after you built your town, you could run into issues. So, from the very beginning of the game, why not go ahead and plan out where you want your farms to be at right away? And then that way, you don't have to worry about whether or not you built over really good farmland. So, go ahead and place down your plots before you actually do it. It doesn't cost you anything. As you see here, it doesn't require any resources. So at the beginning of the game, check out where you want your stuff to be and place your farmland down ahead of time. Because if you decide later and change your mind, you can always just demolish it. So plan it out ahead of time so later on in the game, you don't run into issues where you have no good farmland to go ahead and plant. As I said, when you go ahead and claim a new territory, you're going to use influence to claim the territory. But to actually start a town, you need your personal wealth or treasury. Under the administrative tab, you will see settlers camp, 250 personal wealth. Unless you have that personal wealth, you cannot start a new town. So while it might be smart to claim a territory as quick as possible with influence, you don't need to build right away, but you do need to have 250 personal wealth in your treasury to even start the town. So make sure you have enough money if you plan to start another town. Take out bandit camps early. It's not a difficult thing to do, as in your first town, you are going to get equipment to equip your militia. And having 10 militia take out a bandit camp is pretty darn easy, especially if you're using spearmen. Take your spearmen, place them in a row, let them sit there for a moment so they get their effectiveness up, not being tired. But spearmen also get a bonus when people are charging at them. So just let them sit there, put them on stand your ground. That way they also get a bonus to their defense. I have never lost a militia when I've fought bandits, and I've only had 10 of them. Not a single time. Let the brigands charge into them, leave them on stand your ground and leave them sit there, and they will easily defeat any bandit camp. These bandit camps, they will take your stuff from time to time. You also can get that early money for your towns or for yourself, in which you need to get trading posts set up or to claim new territories and build a settler's camp. So don't let the AI walk in and take them from you. And another hint for you, if you're competing with the AI, whoever gets close, the brigands will go after them. If they go after the AI, let them do it. You only need to go for the camp. The camp needs to be defeated to get it, not the brigands. So if you actually have two groups, you could send one group after the brigands and another group to flank and take out the bandit camp to get the reward. So don't be afraid to go after them early and go after them often. Don't let the AI get what you want. I hope this helped you out in some way. If you need more helpful hints, check out one of these videos to help your Manor Lords gameplay. Until next time, my friends, take care, and thanks for watching.